It's like a dream of mine to completely blow out and like have to restructure my knee.
We've communicated and said, you know what? Lion tastes good. Let's go get some more lion.
Cindy! The TV's leaking!
McLovin?
Yeah. Today is Thomas Cub's birthday, and this is Project X. Yo.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Birdcore. My name is Sam Bird. As always, I'm joined by Jenny Kim. Jenny, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And the big reason why I'm excited is because we are doing it for a second week in a row now. Because last week we had some technical difficulties that we'll get into. First, I'd like to introduce our very special in-studio guest. He goes by Big Jake. He's a stand-up comedian living in Toronto. He's open for other comedians like Mark Norman, Joe List, Dan Soder, and Lil Sasquatch of Barstool Sports, just to name a few. He runs Dark Comedy Presents every Saturday night at 11 at the Royal Comedy Theatre in downtown Toronto, and he does tons of other shows around the city every week. You can find information for those on his Instagram at the Notorious Big Jake. I stuttered. It's over. I stuttered.
It's fine.
I
It's
have to
probably
restart.
not playing. We're probably just talking to ourselves again for 15 minutes.
It's true, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, he's starting to get recognized in public. Jacob Silva.
Yeah.
Friend of the program. My friend from Montreal. We go
yeah.
way back. We used to play soccer against each other.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's how I know you.
Do you remember when we met, though? Do you know? Well, we never met. Do you know why we became Facebook friends?
Did it have to do with football?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It was some guy threatened to jump me at school.
Really?
And then Luke Jardin got like 15 dudes from the Lakeshore Cougars Bantam team to like DM the guy and go, if you go near Big Jake, you're done.
You're kidding me. Really?
Yeah. I don't remember who the kid was, but I just remember he brought you and was like, yo, my buddy Sam's going to beat you up. And then my other buddy is going to beat you up. And there's like 15 dudes from, like, I didn't play with you guys at all. I quit after Pee Wee.
Yeah.
And then there's just Luke was like, no, I'm going to get 15 dudes to beat this guy up.
Wait, so Luke brought me into it and said Sam is going to come beat the guy that was threatening you?
Yeah, he's like, Lakeshore Cougar, the friggin' Lakeshore Cougars are coming in. I messed up. I was so good last week. I didn't swear.
It's okay. Yeah, well, a good thing about last week is all 9 minutes that we had of amazing, smooth conversation was not recorded.
Great.
And that's not our fault because we don't do anything wrong over here.
No.
It was the program
Yeah.
that was going on.
It's almost like this school spent all their money on rebranding.
Yeah. And then they didn't put much money towards getting a new computer for the studio.
No.
But we're thankful that they let us record in here regardless.
Yeah. No, this is sick.
Yeah, it's a good setup.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you just before we went on, when I do this for the length of the semester. So I have this week and then 2 more weeks. And then afterwards, like I won't have access to this studio. So I'll kind of be on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to get my own, like, I'll have to figure, I have a Rodecaster, but then I'll have to get like another mic and then I'll have to figure out a camera situation, like a studio situation.
Yeah.
So I might have to record like out of my room in my basement, just have guests come in and like, don't mind my bed. Like, you know what I mean?
You have your big issue where it's like, because here they're like, you can record Mondays and you're like, okay, I only have Monday. And then you go do it. When you're just doing it on your own, like me and my buddy Rob and Matt, we have a podcast that we've been recording episodes for since August of last year, and we've never posted one.
Really?
Yeah, because we go like 2 months in between an episode, and then we fight, and then there's like, because we're lazy. You gotta make sure you show up and do it.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, no, this is cool. We didn't have they would never let us do this at Humber.
Really?
I was in the Comedy Kids because I studied comedy in college. They would never let us do this.
Did you have like the setup for it though?
I'm sure there was a setup. I'm sure there's a radio program. I took radio at Abbott in Montreal.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about the radio program at Abbott.
They would give us a Zoom recorder and then they'd tell us to walk around the school and ask kids like questions.
Yeah.
And then we just sat in the theater department for 4 hours a day.
Man,
it was not fun.
No, it doesn't sound like fun. Anytime I tell people about Abbott, like about CJEP, especially in Toronto, they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
Some people know. Other people are like, huh?
No, I straight up just call it college. I just tell people I went to film school for 2 years because there's no other way to describe it.
Well, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
When like in reality, it was radio with a Zoom recorder at Abbott going around the hallways. Go to like the Shark Tank. Remember the Shark Tank at Abbott?
Oh my
The
god.
whole football team would just hang out there.
Dude, we didn't have a library the entire time I went there.
Yeah, that's true. They were doing construction the whole time.
I remember I went to go get a book and they're like, you have to take a bus 40 minutes west and go rent the book and then come back. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Can I drive there? They're like, no, you got to get on the bus, the library bus.
Dang. Yeah, no, those days are behind us. We're on to bigger and better things. Jenny, has anybody hit you up saying that the audio's not working, or are we good?
No, it's working. Apparently it's a bit. It's good. It's good.
It's good? You've got confirmation of that?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're going live this time.
Let's go. We're finally live. Goodness
Sweet.
gracious. Yeah. Sure. Has anybody told me? Okay. My dad said working. Yay.
Oh, cool.
So we're good.
Sup, Ted Bird?
Hey, Ted, you did stand up with Jacob once, or well, not with, but I guess like together.
We were either, I think we were on a show together, or I saw you do a show once at the Nest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd recognize you too.
Yeah. I'm kind of hard not to recognize. I don't get to sneak into places.
Fair enough.
Hey, Ted, do you remember a guy taking up 2/3 of a couch in the green room?
Yeah, that was Jacob. Speaking of recognize, we mentioned this last week, but I want to hear the story again so people can actually hear it. You got recognized in Chinatown.
I got recognized at New Ho King at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
So some guy came up to me, a bunch of my friends were like, hey, are you a comedian? I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, we saw you at Yuck Yucks last week. You're hilarious. And I was like, oh, thanks, dude. And he goes, yeah, sorry that your dad's dead. And I was like, don't bring up my jokes at dinner. So I'm the New Ho King of comedy.
Amazing.
That's what they call it.
That's how we're gonna
shout out New Ho King though. That's the best place.
What kind of food is it?
It's Chinese, dude.
Oh,
Szechuan.
I guess so. That was a stupid question, eh?
Nah, it's fine because you got other stuff there too. No, Szechuan is the best.
Yeah.
Am I talking about Chinese food on the radio right
Hey,
now?
I'll talk about Chinese food. I don't care. I like General Tao chicken. That's pretty much it.
Oh, no, dude. You got to go New Ho King calamari. Spicy deep fried calamari.
Oh, that sounds nice. Do they give you like a dipping sauce too?
No, it's just
Really?
not even lemon.
Really?
It's the best.
It's good without any of that. It's good.
You just let it burn your mouth a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do spicy though, man. Like sriracha is too much for me. It's cutting it close.
Oh, we're way too white. We're way
Yeah.
too. People don't understand where we grew up.
Yeah.
We're West Island of Montreal.
Dude, like Beaconsfield. You were what, Kirkland?
I was Beacon Hill, man.
Oh yeah, so we're both Beaconsfield boys.
Yeah.
Man, nothing goes on over there.
No.
Like we say that St. Charles is downtown Beaconsfield.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. You got like there's Played Against Sports, Starbucks. That's it. That's the most exciting part of growing up in Beaconsfield.
It was like cool if you went to the McDonald's North, like near Pure Foam.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like kind of like untouched territory for us, like almost like Beit Urfe. I was like Beaconsfield close to Beit Urfe.
Okay.
So McDonald's at the bottom of St. Charles was far enough for me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. My sister worked there for like 3 weeks. She's 15 years old. She got her first job at that McDonald's.
Yeah.
And after 3 weeks, she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. She like got a bit of money, bought tickets for Drake. She's like, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I was gonna buy tickets for Drake just to go see, and then they're like $300, and I was like, should I just buy these and resell them for a ton of money? But
You'd
then
be able to profit so much.
I was like, I don't even know if I can drop $600 on two. They were like Section 3 something. Like, I'm not going to concerts anymore.
No. Some concerts are really expensive these days.
Yeah.
Like, I know, Jenny, you were looking at tickets for Daniel Caesar the other day, and they were all sold out already, eh?
Yeah, it was like 30 minutes after ticket.
Do you know?
Put on sale.
Do you know how much tickets were? Like,
They weren't too bad, but I wouldn't say that Daniel Caesar is like crazy.
yeah.
I think the cheapest tickets were like $65.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
Where's that? Because I only go to concerts at History now.
That was out in history.
yeah, it's a
Yeah, History's great.
Yeah, History's really good. I went to see Mount Joy at History. They were good. There was cheap tickets. But then like you know Joji, Filthy Frank,
Yeah.
the YouTuber. So Joji, I was looking at tickets for him last minute, and the cheapest ones were like $500.
That's insane.
Yeah.
If it's Ticketmaster, it's really bad because Ticketmaster, what they do is, and this is why a lot of comedians can't stand Ticketmaster, because comedians were like that. You know that clip of what's his name, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain,
Yeah.
and it's from the '90s, and the guy goes, "Yeah, did you know Madonna's charging $50 a ticket?" And then it's Kurt Cobain losing it, going, "We charge $12 for Nirvana." That's what comedians are like. Like Louis C.K. say what you want about the guy, but when he rents out like massive arenas, every ticket is $50. Doesn't matter if you're in the the worst seat in the room or the best seat, it's all $50. And Ticketmaster, what they do is the more tickets that get sold, the more expensive the ones that are left get. It's called like their tiered pricing thing.
Yeah.
So like I've worked like with Mark Norman, and some people in his audience paid $500 to watch him.
Really?
Yeah.
Like sitting like anywhere? Like but still
no, like sitting like maybe like 10 rows away, but that's like $500. A ticket that was normally $100 went up to $500 because Ticketmaster charges more money the less tickets there are.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me because like I went to New York and you can see Mark Norman for $15 on a Wednesday night in New York.
That's great.
And then he comes to Toronto, it's $500. It's insane.
Really? That's weird. I wonder, like, does he come to, so he's from the States, right? So he's in the States. So if he's coming to Canada, I guess it's a little bit more rare. So is that why tickets are going to be a bit more expensive?
No one comes to Toronto or to Canada or anything, but it's just because they're touring.
Yeah.
When you're seeing him in New York, you see like something called a showcase show.
Yeah.
And it's like 10 comedians doing 10 minutes or something like that, and you pay a certain like low fee. It's at a comedy club. And then when they go on tour, that's when it gets expensive.
Okay, I see.
But most comedy shows, a comedy show in downtown Toronto where there's not a massive headliner flown in or there's not a proper person coming in should be no more than $25.
Oh yeah, like when I went to see Lil Sasquatch last week with my buddy Kit, tickets were like $28.
That's really good. It was a good show too.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah,
I was there the night before you opened for him.
Yeah, I did the Saturday at like 7 or 8.
What was the crowd like then?
Oh, it was great. It was all dudes exactly like you.
Yeah.
when you told me,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I was like, these are all like broy dudes. I was like, okay, cool. These are all guys that are not like me. These are all guys who like work out. Yeah. I was like, these are all hockey kids. They were funny though. Do you watch South Park?
I've seen like bits and pieces of South Park.
There's a character on South Park called PC Principal. Okay. And he was a guy who was in a frat that decided to be all woke to get with girls, and then he gets like he becomes principal of the school, and they call him PC Principal because he's super super woke, but he's like this big broy college dude, and it's just that's what I felt like because some of my jokes were like they would laugh and then they'd go ooh, like Will Smith. I was like, oh, I thought one dude was gonna smack me after one joke I did.
Really?
No.
But I mean, you felt the tension almost.
I was like, you guys know this is a funny joke, but you're like, yeah. She has that's PC Principal.
Okay, no, I haven't seen him.
It's the best. South Park's the best, man. That show was fun. Packed room, and that guy has been doing comedy for 2 years.
Sass?
Yeah,
and he's 21 years old.
He's 21. He's like actually like a super sociable kid, but like he's very like young. You have to like. I was also like trying to remember like this guy started 2 years ago. That means he was 19, and that means that the pandemic happened when he was like 16.
Yeah, that's
or like 17, and then he just immediately blew up, and now he's like touring as a headliner, selling out in every city. That's unheard of.
That's awesome.
That he's doing better than Pete Davidson.
Well, Sass started with like video stuff. Like I know he was posting stuff on Instagram.
I think he told me Twitter.
Yeah,
him and
true.
Connor Mook.
Yeah,
were Twitter guys.
Yeah,
like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, Twitter's where I discovered him.
Yeah, because he hasn't posted anything on TikTok in like 2 years.
No, some people like swear by TikTok, and that's how they blow up. And other people are like, I don't need TikTok to.
I know a lot of people who are just famous because of TikTok, and they are horrible people.
Yeah,
and the people from Toronto, there's like 4 dudes from Toronto that blew up because of TikTok. They're actually really nice people, but I've worked with like people we've flown in, and they have like massive TikTok followings, and they're like not cool.
Really?
There's one guy, I picked him up at the airport, and he pulled out his laptop at the airport, like the second he got in my car, and then talked to me for 45 minutes. He was just editing TikToks the entire time.
Really?
I was like, just talk to me, dude. We're in traffic for 45 minutes.
Why did you pick him up? Like, was he coming to do like a show?
Yeah, we were. My buddy Rob, who is a comedian, he also books shows around the city. He's the guy who brought in Lil Sasquatch. And stuff.
Rob Mayu, right?
Yeah. And we brought this guy in, and he was like, it was sad. There's a thing it takes time to get to like these people's level, to like tour and stuff.
Yeah,
you have to be like someone like me who is like opening for years, learning how to treat people, how to treat staff. I mean, I'll go back to Louis CK. You can say what you want about the guy, but when I worked at Yuck Yucks as a door guy, all people talked about was how nice he was to them like 5 years ago. Norm Macdonald, a Canadian legend, the staff 20 years later still talks about him, because you gotta treat the staff at like clubs and stuff, right? That's what matters. But yeah, these guys just blow up on the internet and they don't know how to like act and treat people. It's really weird.
I feel like COVID was a big part of that too. I feel like a lot of people during COVID, they blew up on the internet, and because we weren't allowed to go see anybody or go outside, people only were able to interact through the internet, and then they just got so set on being like on their phone all the time and not having face-to-face interactions. Yeah, I feel like that plays a big part of it, and that's why some of them might be more like closed off or just kind of not in the mood to talk to a person.
Yeah, no, it's very sad. The thing about COVID that bothered me was what you said is what blew up was podcast during the pandemic, and then so like the first year and a half post, like 2021, like when theaters opened for the first year, it was only podcast people opening up like doing theater shows. And so like the state of comedy was so bad, and then you had everything that happened during the pandemic, and then it all changed when Chris Rock got slapped. And now it's a different game. People think you can fight comics now.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Have you ever had?
I had 3 dudes from Sudbury try to fight me once, and then they waited for me outside, and then they realized how big I was because they were sitting in the back of Yuck Yucks when I was on stage, and I was like, "Yeah, let's go!" And I was just like, I was about to take on 3 dudes from Sudbury. I've never been in a real fight. Like I've lost both fights I got into in high school. I got my butt handed to me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Let's go." I punched a couple kids playing lacrosse, but let's bring it to the streets now. They were drunk. They're drunk idiots from Sudbury.
So were they heckling you while you were on stage?
I got to the show late, and they apparently had been ruining the entire show. Oh. And no one warned me, so I just went at them, dealt with them, and then the door guys finally wanted to kick them out after like an hour into the show, and I was like, "Don't kick them out now." I dealt with them.
Yeah.
And then one guy was like, one guy was just like, "Yeah, you're fat," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still gonna be fat outside." I was like, and then I sat there and I got off stage. I'm like, "I'm gonna have to go outside now."
Yeah, great. You're gonna have to face this problem you just created.
Yeah, I parked outside the front. I'm like, "Damn, I can't go out the back door. I gotta go through the front door."
There's no avoiding it.
Yeah, but that happens a lot now. The big issue with comedy now is all these TikTok clips. Because every comedian posts like crowd work stuff.
Yeah,
and now everyone thinks that you're supposed to heckle at comedy shows.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld.
I'm very guilty of never having watched Seinfeld.
Oh my!
I can't believe I said that live on air.
Yeah. Your dad must be. Your dad messed up.
He probably just turned this off.
Yeah. Ted, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know what
it's
my
easy.
issue is.
You start with season 2.
Okay.
And then you watch till season 8.
Okay. Season 1 is not.
Season 1's not that good. Season 9 is all right.
Yeah.
But like when Larry David left in season 7, so you have one decent season. Okay. But you just want there's an episode where Kramer, do you even know the characters?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, some of them.
So Kramer brings a girlfriend to the comedy club, and she starts heckling Jerry. And Jerry's like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you do that?" And she's like, "Well, it's a comedy show. It's what we're supposed to do."
Yeah.
That's every audience. There's constant heckling now. It is wild.
Really?
Because people are like, "Oh, I'm going to help you. You get to tell me to go F myself. And now I'm on your Instagram and you're going to get 1 million views." And it's like, no, you just ruined someone's night, month,
Yeah.
It's hard to get spots in any city you're in. Like some people will wait like a month to do a 5-minute spot on a show, and they'll prepare for it for a month. They're getting all excited. They'll go to the comedy club. There's a decent crowd. And then they have 5 minutes, and then they lose 3 minutes of it because someone yelled something.
Yeah, that'd be awful.
Yeah, like people wonder why comedians lose it on people. It's when you're at like my level and you're waiting forever to get a decent spot or something, and then someone can just ruin your night in a second.
And they think they're doing you a favor.
Yeah,
right.
It's like, no, you just gotta shut up and laugh.
Yeah,
I don't even want you to laugh. I just need you to shut up. Honestly.
Just I got my camera recording in the back, like this is for for my, like you post your clips online, you got your camera, like that's going to help you eventually, you know, you have all your material lined out, and you don't want someone interrupting you. I almost forgot the word. I almost said interacting.
No, like when I record, like when I post a clip, it's because usually I did like a big show.
Yeah.
And like, but if someone like ruined my heck, like I just posted a clip on Instagram. I was in Buffalo, opening for Dan Soder, and there was what Dan called snow hillbillies in the audience.
What's a snow hillbilly?
It's a hillbilly, but Buffalo, New York.
Okay. Okay.
Buffalo Bills fans.
Okay.
And they were QAnon people.
What's QAnon?
Oh my God.
Sorry, am I ignorant? Should I know this stuff?
I think
not
you should know what you should know what QAnon.
I've heard QAnon.
Yeah, QAnon's like a massive conspiratory group of people, and it's like a secret society. They believe that there's like a portal to aliens in the White House.
Yeah,
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a U.S. senator, like all that. But these guys, I was doing a joke about fat people mingling with fat people and how we don't want to do that. And then this one guy goes, and I made a joke about Michelle Obama. I was like, Michelle Obama is at the head of this cleansing of fat people. She's always like, yeah, you guys got to diet and exercise. And then one guy just goes, Michelle Obama's a man. And I was like, why? I clipped it. To be fair, I did put it on my Instagram, but it was like, I could have just posted the joke. Now I got to do a QAnon thing, and now TikTok's going to get mad at me because I'm posting about QAnon.
Yeah.
But I'm making fun of it. Yeah, it's a wild time for comedy, but it's also the best time it's ever been. There's never been more of a demand for like audiences. When I started in Toronto, I was 19. It was in 2019. If you went to an open mic, it would be 7 comedians in a dingy bar, just trying to make each other laugh. Now you go to any open mic, there's an audience. There's people who paid tickets to come see people do stand up for the first time. Like, it's wild.
I feel like there are a lot of aspiring stand-up comedians in Toronto.
Yeah.
I feel like, anybody I talk to, every third person's like, yeah, I'm going to try stand-up.
Yeah. It's because there's a lot more failed artists in Toronto.
That's true.
A lot of people who thought they were going to be actors, a lot of people who thought they were going to be musicians, and then they're like, oh, let me do comedy, because comedy is the least respected art form, I think.
Yeah. So do you feel like you could get away with...
I just think people don't understand how hard it is to do comedy.
Yeah.
It's even myself, for my entire life, I was obsessed with Saturday Night Live, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago's Second City and I'm going to do improv, and then Lorne Michaels is going to discover me. I'm going to be the youngest cast member on SNL. And then I did one open mic and I sucked. And I was like, I love stand-up, but it sucks and it's a lot of work. I always thought stand-up would be like a thing I did on the side.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I can just go on stage and do an hour of material. And I was like, oh no, this is going to take me 3 years to get a decent 5 minutes.
And are you at that point?
I think I could do 15 to 20 minutes right now. I'm technically what's called a feature act.
Okay. So what's the tier like? Like, where does feature act rank?
So on a proper stand-up show, it's 75 minutes. You have a host come on, do maybe 7 to 10.
Yeah.
And then you have a guest spot, maybe. That's someone doing 5 minutes. That's the person that's how you start. You get the guest spot.
Okay.
That's how they kind of do it in Canada too. You get the guest spot, then you host, and then once you have 15 to 20 minutes, you do a feature spot. And then once you've been featuring for long enough, you headline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the next step for you would be headlining.
Yes.
Once you've done the featuring.
But it's the feature thing, I feel like it's 3 years from now. Hopefully I can be headlining.
Did you say 3 or 30?
3.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah, 3 is very generous. I have skipped a lot of steps in comedy just because my friend Rob.
Okay.
Rob, I help him run a comedy festival called the Dark Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And he's given me spots where I've had opportunities where I was able to show my comedy, stuff that no one would ever be able to get as early as I did.
Okay.
I've been doing stand-up for 4 years this summer. I only started taking it seriously last January. And then June of last year, Rob let me perform at a theater for 400 people in Vancouver for my hero.
Was that your biggest crowd you performed in front of?
Yeah, and it was for my hero, Joe List, who's my favorite comedian. Him and Norm Macdonald and Louis C.K. are my favorite comedians.
Nice.
Yeah, so in Vancouver, so that was sick. Ryan Long too. I don't know if you know who Ryan Long is.
I do know Ryan Long. Ryan Long I saw some of the skits he made during COVID.
Yeah, so him and his buddy Danny made, and a guy named JJ Lieberman made. They're all Toronto guys, and they make really funny sketches. They're also really funny comedians. So, but I got to open for Ryan too in Vancouver.
What's that like? What's the feeling like of going up on stage, knowing a few things, knowing A, you're in front of so many people and you got to hope your stuff lands, and then B, the acts that are following you are, some well-established, like real deal comedians?
It's very nerve-wracking until you step on stage, which is how I find comedy. I used to get very nervous when I would just go up like at an open mic, where it's like, oh my God, in 2 minutes I'm going to have to go up there. And now it's like, oh, someone calls my name. I'm like, oh, here I come. Like I used to sit and prepare for 30 minutes and wait for my name to go on. Now it's like, someone can be like, hey, you got called on stage 10 minutes ago. And I was like, oh, and shoot. And I run to the stage, jog, walk kind of fast. I'm not running for anything. But no, and then it's the same way like at a theater and stuff like that. Like I've only done a theater that big once. I've done like smaller theaters since then. But it's nerve-wracking. I was really nervous all weekend, and then I did a show the night before in Vancouver at this horrible venue, and I bombed. I did so bad, so I was like super nervous. I was like, oh, Vancouver's gonna hate all my jokes, and then you get on stage, you do the first joke, the whole audience laughs.
Oh, great.
If you bomb at a theater, you are a horrible comedian.
Yeah? Why? Because out of 400 people, nobody is laughing?
Well, yeah. The more people there are, the easier it is to get away with jokes. Because a lot of comedy and a lot of audiences is a group. It's like convincing a group of people to laugh. Like you have to, like, there's like, for example, if there's 10 people in a room and one person hates the joke you made, that one person's going to make everyone else not want to laugh because they're going to be like, oh, this person's not enjoying it. But if there's 400 people, that means there's 400 people who, there might be 380 people who like the jokes. Instead of 1 out of 10, there's 20 and 400.
Right.
So it's easier to get a whole group to laugh with you. And if you bomb at a theater, that's really bad. I mean, if you're like doing like I did 7 to 10 minutes,
yeah,
that's if you bomb doing that, that's bad. But if you are a headliner, it's easier to bomb when you're a headliner because you got to do it for 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it, you got to practice doing it. That's how you get better, right?
Yeah. That takes time. Like I saw the best comedian, considered the best comedian, Dave Attell, in New York like a month ago at the Comedy Cellar, which is like probably the most famous after the Comedy Store in LA. It's probably the most famous comedy club. Every major comedian has come out of the Comedy Cellar. And he does the last spot at midnight.
Okay.
And it's when the crowd's the drunkest or the rowdiest. It's the hardest spot to do. It's when there's a drunk crowd and you have to get them all to be like 3 hours into a night, be like, hey, time to focus on me.
Yeah.
And my buddy Matt asked him, he's like, why do you do the last spot? And he goes, oh, because it's the hardest work. This guy is 30 something years into comedy and he still wants the hardest spot just because he's that good. He's like, he wants to be that good. He wants to never lose that muscle.
Keep like perfecting his craft, I guess. Like,
yeah.
Keep working on, if you're doing the hardest spot and there's a few laughs you don't get, are you going back and working on that material?
I don't even know if he has to work on his material. I think it's like a lot of people, when it comes to comedy, it's you got to be funny, but it's also you got to be a master of ceremonies.
Right.
You have to be able to control an audience. And there's a comedian in Toronto that impressed me a lot who who he let me actually open for him in Listowel, Ontario last year. His name's Casey Corbin. Listowel is the town they based Letterkenny off of.
Oh, okay.
So it was a real snow hillbilly town.
Yeah.
And
Canadian snow hillbilly this time.
Yeah. And it was like their St. Patty's Day show. It was so funny. It was at like this Legion in the middle of, and we got there in a snowstorm. But yeah, Casey Corbin's really impressive because he's like this big guy. He's got like long gray hair and he wears a baseball cap. You barely see his face. And the way he stands on stage is he just holds the microphone and puts his face right up to the mic and does not move for an hour. And he controls the entire audience for an hour. Really? It's impressive.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It must be, I mean, I guess when he's sitting there, he's not wasting his energy.
No.
It's almost like he's hypnotizing everybody, I would say.
It was really impressive that that was a big thing for me. Because most comedians, like Chris Rock, he's running around. He's being energetic. The Casey's just low energy, but he's like doing really good jokes. He's absolutely hilarious, and it was impressive to see that. But you got to control. You're controlling an audience essentially, which is what you do. Because like to properly headline, like maybe like in 2 years from now, I could headline a bar show where I only have to do 25 minutes. Like I'm not headlining a club for like at least 8 years.
Okay.
Like that's that's why that Lil Sasquatch kid who's 2 years in to doing open mics is headlining around North America. That's unheard of. Yeah, like it's better than Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson's one of the most famous comedians in the world right now. Pete started at 15 and was on Saturday Night Live at 18.
Was he really? I didn't realize how old he was on SNL. 18.
He was 18 when he did what's that rap show?
Oh, is it just rap battles?
No, it's Nick Cannon's show.
Nick Cannon has a new show coming out. Did you hear about that?
Oh God,
it's a show where the women are going to compete to have his 13th child.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah. Nick Cannon, man, he's been doing a lot of work.
Yeah, if you're not good enough for Mariah Carey, what are you doing with your life?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But no, it was Wild and Out.
Oh,
Pete was on Wild and Out when he was 18. He was the youngest cast member on SNL at 21.
Okay.
So like that's impressive too.
Yeah. I feel like SNL's almost gotten younger though as the years have gone on.
Yeah.
But maybe I just say that because the people who were on it, 10, 15 years ago, I see them as old now.
Yeah.
But they were younger back then too.
Oh yeah.
But there are some young cast members, like Andrew Dismukes is relatively young. I think he's around my age, maybe a little bit older.
Really?
I think so, yeah. I'm 23. I don't know. I'll send him a DM, see how old he is.
Well, the funny thing about comedians is that, especially on Saturday Night Live, you go, oh, this guy's 23 and they're 35.
Yeah.
They're 15 years into comedy. They're the amount of people who are older, like most people who get on SNL are like 35.
Dang.
So like even Pete had a hard time at 21. Like the only other, I think the person before him who's that young was like Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy is super young.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. But back to that little Sasquatch kid, he's impressive he's very humble too. He only did 35 minutes of stand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt like...
He brings his buddy on who does 20 minutes. By the way, his buddy is also 2 years into stand up comedy.
That's Connor, right?
Yeah, Connor. Yeah. They're both hilarious. And they're like, they're humble about it. That's why I had so much respect for him, because he was like a nice kid who was just humble. He's like, oh, I can only do 35. And I'm not going to drag these people through an hour of bad material. I'm going to give them a decent 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun time.
Are you at a point, do you need like an agent when you're booking stuff, or do you do it yourself? Like I know Rob, so does Rob help you book? Like
Rob, yeah. Okay. Rob, we book people. I say, hey, can I have a spot? That's about it.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he gets me a lot of spots. He's like, that's helped a lot, because I moved back to Montreal like in the last summer, and I was driving to Toronto every 2 weeks, and Rob was letting me perform on all the shows throughout the weekend. Like you don't have an agent in Canada.
Okay.
The only comedy agent you really have in Canada is if you're signed to Yuck Yucks, which is a chain of comedy clubs, because Mark Breslin is the owner, and he is the biggest agency for comedians in like comedy.
Okay.
Because he has 400 comedians signed to him, and he does corporate gigs and stuff. That's the only real booking agent really for comedy. If you want a comedian, you go to yuckyucks.com, or you do it privately.
Okay.
Yeah. It's until you go to the US, and it's very hard to get into the US if you're Canadian.
Is that something that you want to do?
It's something I really want to do.
So where in the US is like optimal? Would it be like New York? Would it be
I want to live in New York City.
New York City, yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to live in New York. I just think also it's just the vibe. It's so much better. I don't like it's actually kind of funny, like there's something, it's like rap where it's like, are you Biggie or are you Tupac? It's like I'm New York comedy. Like I don't like comedians from LA. Like you asked me if I like Theo Von earlier. I was like, I can't stand Theo Von.
Really?
I can't stand him.
Oh, that hurts my soul. It's okay though. Yeah. But Theo, he's living in Nashville right now.
Yeah, but he's still LA. It's ew.
You're LA. Is it because he's in with like more like LA celebrities?
You know when growing up in Montreal, if a girl said she was from Montreal, but she was really from Laval. That's what it's like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect reference. It's like when a girl says she's from Yorkville.
Yeah.
But she's from Ajax. It doesn't count.
Okay, I get it.
There's still Ajax in that girl. I don't care how long she's been going to U of T for. She's an Ajax girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, Ajax is a bit far if you're going to U of T. Are you living on campus at that point?
I'd assume so. I don't think that is relevant for the reference I made, but
no. But now I know. Now I'm thinking about it geographically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what Ajax is?
Yeah. Well, Ajax, like, I'm still learning the Toronto, like, man, I haven't been here 2 years yet. I'm still learning.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, you haven't been here that long, eh?
No.
Well, I think you and I both moved back here. Like, I moved back to Toronto after the pandemic, and you moved here.
Yeah.
So 2021 or something?
Well, I moved in August of 2021, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we both got here at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was gone for like a year and a half.
Why'd you go back to Montreal?
Pandemic.
True.
There's nothing for me to do here.
Yeah. I guess the whole the stand-up scene must have been
No stand-up, no sketch. Like all my friends were making sketches for a year and a half and doing Zoom stand-up shows.
Zoom stand-up shows.
Yeah. Horrible.
My God, you'd never know if you're bombing or not.
No, it was just you're just talking into the void for 5 minutes.
Oh my God, that's kind of like an online class.
It was worse than online school. It was worse. And also to add to that, I did a semester of stand-up comedy college on Zoom.
At Humber?
Yeah.
Dang.
Absolute worst.
Do you find that Humber...
Hold on, let me explain.
Yeah. Yes,
I had to pretend how to be a clown on Zoom. I had to wear a red nose and do clown on Zoom for semester, and I quit.
How do you do? Can you give us an example of how you had to be a clown?
All I remember from clown is that my teacher did not let me use my clown name. We all had to come up with a clown name, and she hated my clown name.
Why?
Because this was at the same time of like the Trudeau photos got leaked.
Yeah.
So my clown name was Whiteface.
Okay.
My teacher refused. We had to do a show where everyone's clown got introduced, and he had to go on stage in character, and she refused to use my name.
Okay.
She's like, your next clown is Jacob Silva, and I was like, no, it's say my name. Say my name. I felt like Walter White. I was like, say my name.
Say my name.
You know exactly what my name is. Say my name.
But she never did it.
She did. It was such a good name too.
Was the class called Clown?
It was called physical comedy, but there was like a semester where you did clowning, and I think it spilled into Zoom for a bit. Yeah.
Do you find that Humber prepared you for your life?
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
Why not?
Humber, it's an underfunded program, the comedy program there. But the good thing about it is you meet really good people.
That's true.
Then it sets you up for a college program where your only job is to go do open mics.
Okay.
And no one ever does it.
Why not? What do you think that is?
Lazy.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about the Humber Comedy Program is you get they do a show every Tuesday at Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
So you're performing at a comedy club when you start stand up, basically. So it is pretty awesome. That's the one good thing, and you meet a lot of great comedians who've been in the program, and they do teach you some good stuff, but they don't know how to prepare you. Anyone who's teaching anything would not be teaching if
Yeah, that's true. I know what you're saying. If
the saying is, those who can't do teach.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's like, yeah, there's some great people, but like they're not relevant, especially in comedy, where it's like the teacher, like we added a guy named Larry Horowitz. This guy hadn't been on stage in 20 years because of health reasons. So he would teach us how to do how to get a following on the internet. He'd be like, this is how you make chili in a coffee maker in a hotel in Sarnia. He literally taught us how to make beef chili in a coffee maker.
That's when you run out of material to teach, I guess. That's the next best step.
Dude, Larry was the best. Shout Larry Horowitz. But no, if anyone doesn't know what they want to do and they think they're funny, go do Humber Comedy Program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to pass the time.
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
You get to learn about comedy. Like literally one of my classes was history of comedy.
That's pretty cool.
We watched movies all day.
Yeah, like I guess comedy movies, right? And you
Yeah.
learn about like different actors and like comedy actors and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good. Like there's a 17-year-old kid who hangs around our scene, like our group. His name's Izzy. He didn't want to go to college after, and I was like, dude, you have to go to college. You can't just be doing stand up at 17 and have nothing else. You got to go party. You got to live a life.
Yeah.
So I convinced him to do the Humber Comedy Program. So he's doing that next year.
Okay.
Yeah. If he hates it, I don't care. He's not. We bully this kid so much. He's like a little brother, but like we bully him the funniest way. Like we bully him like properly. We're like, hey, we catch you doing drugs, you're no longer performing with us. And he'd be like, okay, I'm done doing drugs. He's a wild kid, but it's cool. The crazy thing about this kid is so anti-woke.
Oh yeah,
that's the new thing.
It is, eh? I've noticed there's a lot more people who
he's a Jewish kid from Toronto, and his favorite thing to watch is Fox News.
Oh really?
He does jokes about Fox News because his parents, like, it's the thing where it's like, if your parents, like, I feel like our age and stuff, parents didn't really care. Like, I don't think our parents were like trying to be like, hey, you don't say this at school. They're like, hey, was it funny? You know? So we're kind of neutral. We were able, but like, there's an agenda.
Oh yeah.
There's an agenda with parents now, and then they force it down their kids' throat, and then those kids now are like, I don't want to be like you. No one wants to listen to their parents.
They grow resentful.
Yeah, I was a latchkey kid. That's why I don't resent my parents, because they weren't in my face 24/7. I got to figure myself out a bit.
Right.
But these kids, like this kid Izzy's like super anti-woke, and it's wild to see because that's the new generation. Like dark comedy and offensive humor is on the rise.
Yeah, and it's all very, like you said, anti-woke, I find. Like, like your material, your stuff is dark comedy, right?
Yeah.
So are you like going into it hoping that your crowd is like not a huge woke crowd? Because if you go into that kind of situation, like, are you screwed?
No. It's kind of like teaching the best way to teach a kid how to swim is to throw him in the pool. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good lesson. I don't know if my parents did that. My parents knew we had a pool, so they were like, "You're gonna learn how to swim before you walk." It's like you got to learn how to deal with any crowd.
Yeah,
it's an argument I have with my friend Matt, who does very funny, but his material is wild. And I was like, "You got to be able to go into any room. Just have like a second gear you can go into." And he's like, "No, comedy's pure. I can say whatever I want." I was like, "Okay." Louis C.K., not to bring it up for the 5th time.
Yeah, Jenny, are you keeping track how many times you're at Louis C.K.?
I love Louis C.K. and I'll defend him on any college radio program.
Write that down. Quote that. Put it in bold.
But Louis used to go into every room in New York City. He used to go do shows in Brooklyn. Brooklyn was super woke in the 90s.
Oh, wow, really?
So it's Louis, you got to be able to have that second gear just to make a crowd laugh. It's back to the master of ceremonies thing.
Yeah.
But me, no, I don't think I don't think I say anything that super offensive where audience hates me. I just bring people to such a low energy, dark level, and then I make them like, what's the word? It's cathartic. I mean, because a lot of my stuff is super dark. I talk about my dad. My dad died a really funny way. I don't know how to talk about it yet because I might get sued by the Montreal Canadiens hockey team if I talk about how my dad died.
I mean,
because a certain doctor.
We don't have to say any names.
Let's just say there was a certain doctor working for the Montreal Canadiens who may or may not have killed my dad.
Off the record.
Yes.
Off the record.
And then my grandfather, to cheer me up, brought me to a Montreal Canadiens hockey game.
Oh, boy.
And it was the night they were honoring that doctor.
Oh, boy.
So 23,500 people were applauding for the guy that just killed my dad. And then the way I do it on stage is I go, anyone here seen Spider-Man 1, Tobey Maguire? And they go, yeah. And I go, remember when the Green Goblin died and everyone was celebrating in Times Square? Yeah, that was like me at the Bell Center and I was James Franco.
Oh, man.
Just going, my dad, though.
Dang. So do you find inspiration for your material and stuff like that? Do you have to use stuff?
Every bad thing that happens to me, I just go, that's a new 5 minutes. I got blackmailed. Some girl had my nudes and blackmailed me last summer, and she like started a group chat with my mom, my aunt, like my grandmother, and a bunch of like my sister and cousins, and a bunch of female comedians, and they just leaked my nudes. And I was like, also, if you're listening to this, I'm not the kind of guy that you want nudes of. That's why it's funny. Yeah, she's like, send me a picture of you in the mirror. I was like, oh no, I'm being blackmailed. I was like, no girl wants to see me naked in the mirror. I shut off the lights off. I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror, let alone send a photo to a hot young girl.
Hey, everyone's beautiful.
That was not. Thank you. That was so sad. Everyone's beautiful.
Keep your head up, Jacob.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, she blackmailed me, and then I was like, oh, this is a new 5 minutes. Sweet. Yeah, every bad thing. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, is it hard for you to like talk about that stuff? Like on two different levels. Is it hard for you is it almost embarrassing to share a story about like your nude being leaked? And like, is it difficult to talk about your dad when you're up there? Or are you just going like, I gotta say what I gotta say?
It took me a long time to talk about my dad.
Yeah.
He died when I was 15. I didn't start talking about it until I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Like I tell like friends every once in a while, they'd be like, how'd your dad die? And then I would leave out the hockey game part.
Yeah.
And then my friend Evan, who's a young comic too, and he's headlining. He recorded an album super early. Like he just recorded an album last summer, and he's like 3-4 years in. He's 21, 22. But he's very talented. He does musical comedy. But I drove him to Sudbury in summer of 2021. It was his first headlining gig.
Yeah.
And I was going to do 15 minutes. And this was my first stand-up show in a year and a half. And before that, I had 2.5 minutes of material, and I was supposed to do 15. And we spent 4 hours in the car of him going, just talk about your dead dad. Tell the story. It's hilarious. It's going to be 5-10 minutes. You'll be fine. And I just went up on stage, and I was like, so this is how my dad died? No one found it funny.
Oh,
I
no.
bombed so hard. I drove from Montreal to Toronto to Sudbury, and not one person laughed at me. And it's so funny. But it was still a funny story. I would like, it's that took me a while to talk about that.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't see the humor in it. Like I felt like with my mom and stuff, we'd like laugh about it, be like, how crazy is that?
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought people would find it funny. And then it took a while for me to find that the way to make it funny on stage. But no, I can talk about it. Like when I got blackmailed, it was like an hour after it happened. I was like calling my buddies, going, I can't wait to talk about this on stage. I was like, oh, because I drove to Toronto like 3 days later and went and talked about it for a weekend on stage. It was fun. It depends. It depends on what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of it is just until I find the funny way to tell it. Sometimes stuff is instantly, I can be like, oh, let's talk about this. Sometimes it's, like last Sunday I was driving home at like 3 a.m. and I was on Bathurst and Concord at the red light, and I saw some chick beating up her girlfriend on the sidewalk, and I like choking her and hitting her, and I had to call 911, and I was like, it was shocking to me. I was like terrified because I didn't know what to do. I just called 911, and then I was joking around with the cops when they showed up, and then the cop comes up to me and goes, hey, can you do a report? And I was like, sure, absolutely. And then the guy goes, yeah, so the officer's gonna be doing the report. This is his first domestic abuse case. And I was like, 3:40 in the morning on Bathurst, I have to train a cop. I have to teach a cop how to do a police report at 3:40 in the morning. I was like, I just want to get to McDonald's. This is on St. Patty's Day. I just wanted a Shamrock Shake.
Yeah, please. Shamrock Shake and the new chicken Big Mac.
I know. That's all I wanted. And I got to McDonald's. There was like a 40-car lineup. I was like, great, I'm not getting McDonald's now. Thanks a lot. Chick who was beating up her girlfriend on Bathurst. I hope you're in jail right now.
She's probably listening right now. Well, I mean, maybe not from jail.
How funny would that be if they're torturing people in prison cells with TMU's radio? How funny would that be?
That would be like, that would make for a good skit, I think.
Oh, it's been done before. There's a comedian named Shane Gillis.
Yeah,
he has a sketch show, and one of the sketches was in Guantanamo Bay. They were torturing the 9/11 terrorists with people with Philly accents.
Oh, Philly accents are awful.
Yeah, it's a funny one, but yeah, how funny would that be? No offense to you. This is a fun podcast. I also watched some of your clips, but how funny would that be if it was just me? Someone had to listen to me talk about stand-up for an hour. And
it's like after that hour's done, just replay it.
Oh, that'd
start
be
from
great.
the beginning. You get it to the point where the people who are in the cells have memorized what you're gonna say. But what if they enjoy it?
That is true.
It's a whole different story.
Oh, and you already told this girl where I'm going to be on Saturday. It's great.
It's true.
Anyways.
Can you tell me a little bit about Dark Comedy Presents Saturdays 11? What's the vibe like? Aside from being about dark comedy.
It's really fun. Honestly, it's been super successful. We sold out. I mean, we started it in February. It's once a week. We sold out our first show last week. We had it was like 60 people is the size of the venue. We sold it out. It's essentially, if you want to open for people like Mark Norman, Joe List, all these famous comedians, you either do, you come to the Royal Comedy Theatre Sundays at 8. It's a show called Casting Couch.
Yeah.
You go up, there's 3 comics on a couch who get to roast you while you do your stand-up. If you're able to banter back and forth, do well, I put you on my show called Dark Comedy Presents. And then you do that for a bit, and then we'll give you spots on the Dark Comedy Festival. We run shows throughout the year, and at the end of the year, we do a big festival in Toronto in December. We're all over Canada too. But Dark Comedy Presents is essentially, it's just showcasing comedians in the city who I think need a spotlight. And it's a live taping, so we record people's sets. We're still waiting to figure out how we want to do it. Right now we're just trying to get the show going because it's a brand new show. But once we do that, we're going to start clipping people's stuff, putting it on Instagram, trying to help people grow a following. And then it's also great because sometimes the celebrity we have in town for the weekend, like the famous comedian we fly in,
right,
will sometimes pop in on that show. So for $20, you get to see a bunch of like semi-pro, pro comedians just do their best material, and then someone cool drops in. It's really fun.
That's really cool for $20.
Yeah.
Dang.
And if anyone wants info on that, it's at Dark Comedy Fest on Instagram.
Dark Comedy Fest.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
that's
put
where
that up.
that's where you find all the info on all the shows and stuff. But yeah, it's a
really
fun
cool.
time.
That's an innovative idea. I like that.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
To be honest, we're copying a lot of stuff, but we're doing our own spin on it.
It's okay. That's it.
There's not many people who we're the only festival that focuses on dark comedy. So
there you go.
That's the cool thing about us.
A lot of people are scared to dip their toes into that water.
It's
dark
not.
comedy.
The funny thing is, it's not even like dark. It's not like we're all like in a cave going, come on. It's literally the healthiest form of comedy because we talk about stuff that affects us.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Rob talks about being adopted.
It's almost like free therapy.
Yeah. My friend Matt Baxter was a drug addict, and now he talks about his life post being like sober. And it's like you just talk about dark stuff, like the stuff that, like me, I talk about my dad. I talk about being blackmailed. It's all fun.
Okay, that's good. At least
Catharsis is the best.
Yeah, it makes for good material, I think.
It does.
Yeah.
Also helps you get through situations. Every time if I have a friend who calls me and goes, "This horrible thing just happened to me," I'll immediately start making fun of it.
Like, wait, let me write that down. Can you say it again?
Like to their face, I'll be like, "Oh, you got punched in the face. Oh my god." I'll just make fun of them. Yeah. And it helps. You gotta make fun of stuff.
Yeah, it takes the edge off of things, I find.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to kind of, cope with something. Yeah. As opposed to just seeing the bad and everything and then it kind of build up. You know what I mean?
You also can't get mad at what people find funny.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
It's very subjective.
Also, you can't get mad at a comedian for trying to figure out. At the end of the day, comedians trying to learn how to make people laugh. Mm-hmm. You can't get mad at them for that.
Yeah. That's true.
That's why Will Smith is not my hero anymore.
Yeah, Will Smith, man. He's kind of tailed off ever since the Oscars incident last year, I find. I just haven't been seeing his name in the news. Maybe I'm not looking at the news enough. But
he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. His marriage is always rocky, but I think
she's a peach.
Yeah, she's the best. Look, we gotta wrap it up in about 5 minutes here. I know there was a story that you wanted to tell.
Oh, yes.
So it literally, when Jacob walked into it, the first thing he said was, "Man, I have a great story for the show." So
yeah,
by all means, if you're still willing to share it.
I'll try and not give full details, but essentially, I was involved partially. I'm working on a documentary with my friend Dave, and it's pretty spicy stuff when it comes to students of the Toronto Metropolitan University. Mm-hmm. There's been some shady stuff going on with the elections, and I was offered a certain role to get votes by students for a certain party, and that certain party, when I told them I was going to be on radio today, refused to give me $400 to say nice things about them. So I am making an expose documentary about it. I was literally like, I'm extorting you right now, just to let you know. I'm going to go on radio on my friend's show. If you don't give me $400, I'm telling them everything. And he was like, "You're so funny." He thought I was joking. I was like, "No, I'm literally blackmailing you, dude." But no, yeah, we're working on an expose about the whole thing because it's deep. We got connections, to the mayoral candidate for Toronto. There's a fraud going on. There's fake posters. There's incentives for comedy shows being posted around. It's a wild story. And my friend Dave and I are working on a documentary/mockumentary about it. It's going to be a funny documentary, but it's also, at the end of the day, it's going to be an expose. So we're look forward to that. It's going to be on my Instagram at Notorious Big Jake sometime in the future. We're working on it right now. The raw footage is in a warehouse in Markham, guarded by security 24/7. If anyone tries to silence or hurt me, you will be exposed. The 4 people, you know who I'm talking to. You know I'm coming after you, and if you dare hurt a single hair on my head or my friend Dave, you will be crushed.
Luke Jordan's going to get the whole Cougars football team to come after you.
No, Luke Jordan's going to get the staff that he works at. What's the restaurant? When Luke got his first waiting job, I was working at a Circle K at Couche-Tard. Yeah. And he walks in, pulls out a huge wad of cash, and hands me a tip. I'm like, "Why are you tipping a gas station guy?" He goes, "Dude, I'm making so much money as a waiter." I'm like, you don't tip the gas station guy, dude.
Damn, man, you just asked for $30 on pump 2. Why are you giving me the 20 for?
It was so funny.
That's great.
Luke's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy. Luke Luke has had his ups and downs in life, but he's always come out smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke is a nice
I
guy.
can't believe it was 10 years ago, too.
Yeah, dude, time flies, man. It's crazy. I think back to it, like the football days, the soccer days. It was so long ago, and we'll never get those days back.
No. Oh, yeah, I can't play soccer anymore. It sucks. I'm too fat. I miss it.
You could be a goalie.
I was a goalie as a fat guy, too.
Dang.
I was a pretty decent goalie. You know Alessandro Fontini?
Yeah.
Yeah, he let me go goalie for a couple seasons. That was fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I'm not playing midfield anymore like the good old days.
Yeah.
Oh, did I get into a bunch of fist fights with or like pushing? Yeah,
With my team?
yeah. Weren't you guys like blue?
Oh,
That 1 year.
Maybe. Well, it changed.
I remember not fighting with you. I remember.
I'm not a scrappy guy.
No.
But there were some guys on our team who would get into it.
Yeah, I feel like red cards were thrown. Yeah, that was fun.
It could be, yeah.
I missed that.
Oh, the soccer days. Well, I think we should end it on a positive note about Lakeshore soccer and bring it all back to
Dude,
being
our small town soccer community.
Yeah, for real. Jacob, man, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. Just remember us when you're famous and when you're a big comedian. You know,
no, it's a lot of pressure.
when you're doing shows in front of sold out arenas, just start it off by saying, I'd like to dedicate this show to Sam and Jenny over at Birdcore.
Absolutely.
Can't forget about Luke.
And about Luke. Can't forget about Luke. All right, folks, you can find Jacob every Saturday night, 11 o'clock. Dark Comedy Presents at the Royal Comedy Theater. You can find him on Instagram at the Notorious Big Jake. You want to promote anything else? Anything else to say before we sign off?
No, come check out the shows. They're Saturdays at 11, Royal Comedy Theater, 1051 Bloor Street West. Follow me on Instagram. Check out Dark Comedy Festival on Instagram. We got great shows.
Beauty. All right, everybody. Enjoy your Monday. We out.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's like a dream of mine is to completely blow out and like have to restructure my knee.
We've communicated and said, you know what? Lion tastes good. Let's go get some more lion.
Cindy? The TV's leaking.
McLovin?
Yeah. Today is Thomas Cup's birthday, and this is Project X. Yo.